brought me sprinkle cookies.
So what, no fucking TV now? Hey!
Maybe she's from Jersey.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Maybe She's from Jersey. We're your hosts, Jackie Neese.
And Alex Curtis.
Welcome back. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
We have a really fun episode planned today with a lovely guest. This is our friend, Allie.
Hello, everyone.
She's been here.
Yeah, I was going to say you might remember her from season 1. We did a religion episode. We love
and
Allie.
Real Housewives episode.
Oh, yeah, and the Real Housewives.
I've been on 3 times.
Damn, we love you. But we love Allie, obviously. You're like the sweetest person I've ever met.
It helps. It for
I
sure
love you
helps.
guys right back.
Our sponsorship today is Turtle Beans Roastery in Bordentown, New Jersey. Quick story. The owner, Steven, is literally the nicest man ever.
Yes.
We walk in there. I had been talking to him on Instagram beforehand, letting him know that we were going to come. And we usually give the sponsors an opportunity to tell us if they want us to advertise something specific or they want us to try something, whatever it is. So we go in there. This guy had a fucking game plan. He was so ready. He was like, hey, how are you? Super nice. I had been there once before. The place is stunning. Even on like the walls of the coffee shop is the story of how a coffee bean starts and how it ends up in his shop. It's the cutest thing. His mom's on the wall. Apparently his family's from Costa Rica. His mom lived there for a really long time before she came to Jersey, but she basically picked coffee beans. Like that was her livelihood. And he was telling us how like women usually were in that industry more so. But when he came to Jersey, his whole family obviously is big into coffee. So we opened up this coffee shop in Bordentown, and it's so freaking good. Like, I know we all love like a good aesthetically pleasing coffee shop, but the quality of this coffee is like unreal. He also took like 40 minutes of his day to sit us down, literally pull out a fucking diagram of like types of coffee, where his coffee comes from, seasonally what he does, and then different types of coffee styles that they provide there. So they do seasonal drinks, obviously, which we'll post photos of. I got a peppermint mocha latte, and she got a cinnamon dolce latte.
Yeah.
And what am I drinking now?
That's the pour over.
Yeah.
So he gave us 2 options. The lattes, which were the specialty ones, because he said, like, they're seasonal, so you have to try them. We're like, great. We love a good coffee. And then he said those are, like, his favorite, which is the pour over, which is just black. You can only drink them black. He was explaining why pour over basically works and, like, how it works, how much water you put, the temperature. It was, like, this whole, like, diagram of how to do it and why they do it. The flavor content. So, like, the cooler it gets, the sweeter it gets. It was just like so thoughtful, and like I've never been more passionate about coffee in my life.
I have never
you could tell.
had no literally
I know.
the way he explained the passion he has for what he does just spilled over in what he was saying, and we both left and we were like, we want to work there. Like he just had this beautiful energy and this beautiful excitement about what he sells and what he does that was so refreshing. And honestly, I'm not just saying this. When I sipped that coffee, I was like, that is the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I don't know what's in it, and also I was buzzing. I was sitting up and I was like,
he sold you on the energy, and the coffee just like,
I literally had my arms crossed and I'm like rocking back and forth. My mom's like, I was like, I love this.
We feel great.
Yeah, we feel great.
Because he was saying how he wanted his coffee shop to be about, even if you're on the go, to really enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
So he even said, he was like, our coffee.
What a cool dude.
He was like, our coffee takes a minute. Like, it's not going to be like
Is
quick.
he single?
We saw a wedding band.
But that's a perfect segue because our topic today is dating.
Yeah.
Allie is single. My little is single. News, right? So we're just going to jump right in. What is your ideal type? Physically, emotionally, just right off the bat. Even if it's like bad, what do you instantly like, okay, I really like that?
Funny.
Okay.
They have to make me laugh. They gotta be tall, which is just my shallow version. But no, mostly like if you make me laugh, I find you the most like attractive person ever. I also really am attracted to intelligence. Like if you could teach me something or show me something that I don't know on my own, because like I live in Wikipedia just reading about random shit. So if you can show me something that I've never seen before, that really excites me. But also being on all the apps for so long, you realize that it's really hard to just connect to someone just with you can't even describe that kind of connection.
Yeah.
Like the chemistry that they talk about in the movies, like you can't make that up. You can't force it.
Yeah.
And so that like instant chemistry, attraction, like being able to go back and forth, wittiness. And that's not, I didn't even say anything physical besides being tall.
I think
So that's pretty good.
I think that's a good. There has to be some physical standard because you're
Yeah.
like I understand. 100% looks do not necessarily mean it all because at some point you're going to get old and like that what's inside is obviously what's going to carry through. But
Yeah.
there's
But
always
naturally, like your eye is drawn to something.
You have to be whether you're attracted to them after you get to know them. Like there has to be some sort of physical attraction. So if anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying.
Yeah. No, I was dating someone, I guess like a year and a half ago now. And when I was dating him at the time, I didn't find him attractive. But then after things ended, now I see guys that look like him and I'm like, oh, he's hot. And I'm like, what?
That's
kind
so
of
funny.
mind warp happened up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually like tall, good, what everybody would say. Tall, good head of hair.
It's fair.
I like a dad bod. Like I would like them to be like kind of chunky.
Yeah.
With like a belly.
Oh my God, I love that.
Lumberjack looking beard.
I like dad bods.
Yes.
I'm totally for it because I've had the abs and it's like not.
Yeah.
I thought I would be like really into that, and I like it was nice. I wasn't complaining, but it
Yeah.
was not something I like thought of long term.
I'm a big abs girl.
yeah.
Big abs.
Okay, so
girl.
we got
look at her.
whole
She's,
spectrums.
she's looking off into the distance. Love those abs.
I do. I'm a big abs person. You know, I don't care about arms. I don't care about height, but like I go for like a skinnier. I don't want to use the word skinny. I guess it's more like of the leaner cut. Like, because some people find that unattractive. They're like, oh, that guy's like skinny. I'm like, I don't know. There's something about it I find like attractive in like appearance ways, which mind you, if you looked at the last like few people I dated, none of them look like this. But what catches my eye naturally, if I like walk into a bar or something, I love like a mix of like Italian and Cuban. Like somebody who's got like
So,
a
like,
little bit of like an
little
olive
bit of
colored
darker,
skin,
yeah.
like jet black hair. I'm like, wow.
Brown eyes.
Brown eyes,
Yeah,
yeah.
see,
Or
I
hazel.
go for the Irish, light eyes.
Yeah, no, I never.
I always said like my attraction is like the good old American boy, which like I don't know
Yeah.
what that describes, but to me it's like just an Irish Catholic plain looking person.
Every single human I've dated besides the past two people, every single last name has ended in a vowel. Like they were all
You have
Italian.
a type. That's fair.
Yeah, but and this is what I will say is going back to that is like as I grew up, like that was always my thing. It was like, oh, I love Italian, blah blah blah. And then as I got older, everything to me is about personality. Like I love like Chandler Bing from Friends. If you are Chandler Bing from
my
Friends, I will
gosh.
date you in a heartbeat. I love him. Like humor is huge.
But
Like
he's
if you're
not
funny.
lean.
But that's what I mean. It's like he doesn't even. It's more the personality and the character, and I think somebody's character and personality can make them 10 times more attractive. And you could be the most handsome guy in the world, and if you're a shit person, I personally think you look ugly. Like if I learn. And that we can go into this about relationships, but when I start to find out true colors about somebody and they're not what they've made themselves out to be, I can look back on pictures of them and I'm like, I don't even find you attractive.
Yeah.
You could be the most handsome guy in the world. If you are a shit person, then you're ugly. Sorry. Like that's, to me, that's what ugly is.
Even a little less like deeper than that, if I'm on a date or something and someone's first reaction is negative instead of like optimistic, it's a huge
turn off for sure.
Like
Let's jump into that.
if
Then.
if they're complaining about the service and like
Yeah.
the waitress is taking a little too long, like not gonna work.
any negativity on
it like really like it gets under my skin.
Yeah.
that gives you the ick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gives me the
Okay,
ick.
so let's jump into that. So you said you're on the apps. What
Yes.
apps have you tried, and why do you like, or what's like unique about each of the apps?
Okay. I've tried them all. I've given, because I've been single for a long time and I've also put myself out there more than I think other single people have. I've done the speed dating. I've done like,
Oh my gosh.
I've done it all. Tinder is a cesspool for horny people.
So
Stay
not
away.
really dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be different if you're in the suburbs, but in Philly,
Right.
that's what it is. And we could even talk about that, the difference between suburban dating and city dating. Bumble is good, but it takes a lot more effort. And it's like the kind of crossover in between Tinder and people who aren't horny enough for Tinder, move on to Bumble. And then Hinge is the place where you're really going to find people that are looking for an honest connection.
Really? Okay.
But that's also the most competitive because that's where there's a lot of the like good people are on there.
Interesting.
And it brings back to what we did earlier. My Hinge prompt for the longest time was like, what are you looking for? And I just put a dad bod with a beard, and I got so many hits from it. so the people that I was most attracted to would respond to that, and then it would be like cheeky back and forth.
That's funny.
And how many dates have actually come from those apps?
At this point,
maybe the opposite. Have you ever had dates like organically at a bar, or is it more now apps?
have I ever been on a date organically?
Like, have you just been out at the grocery store and someone like, do you want to go on a date?
No, I don't think that's ever happened to me.
This time and age, it is the apps.
That's so sad.
That's
No,
not
it really
either.
is. No, that really is.
Nobody really walks up
like-
to people though. It's more like people meet friends through friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that's the day and age. Like, people are almost more comfortable connecting immediately through a phone, like some sort
I'm
of
also
connection.
like very self-aware. Like I would call myself like a Philly 6. I'd be like a New York 4 when it comes. Like,
What?
No, come on, because like you gotta know what you have to offer out
New
there.
York
I'm not
4.
like I'm like short, a little stumpy,
Oh,
but I have a pretty face.
Yeah.
But like you gotta know, like I'm thinking even my like really hot friends, like the really pretty ones, they've never been on dates that like someone has just randomly
organically been
approached.
like, hey.
If anything, we meet people down the shore,
Yeah.
which like you guys
Yeah.
know what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say I'd probably been on, I was going to say like 50 first dates, but I think that's accurate.
No,
Wow.
this is why she's on our podcast, guys. She has
First
such
dates,
good content.
second dates, like multiple dates, but like people who I've met through the apps, a lot.
Interesting.
So so I'm gonna ask you a few first date questions, which I think would just like warm us up, and I'm sure viewers would love to hear these.
I'm
stories.
already warmed up.
Because I
was made for this.
I know your stories, but I know other people are gonna really enjoy them. So pick like your top 3 worst fucking dates, like
Okay.
worst dates.
Okay.
no.
First one that comes to mind, this guy, I think we met on, this was a Bumble date. So we're talking back and forth. He seems really interesting. We're both living in Philly, but he was from my hometown. So we had that connection. And what I love with the apps is I don't like spending a lot of time texting because sometimes that turns into 3-4 weeks of texting, no meeting. And then you find out they're not interested in meeting. They're just a weirdo
Right.
that likes texting. So like I give it like 2 weeks tops to at least form a plan to meet in person. This guy wanted to meet right away, so I loved it. And it was kind of feels more like a blind date in that way. So we get to the date and we go to this place called Barcade in Philly, which is a perfect first date spot. You get drinks and you play arcade games.
I love that place.
So we go and the truth starts coming out. First, he has like a vernacular that is something like I've never heard before. Like it was like I was sitting down with P. Diddy, who was a white dude with like wire framed glasses, but like also sort of like a Southern twang. And then it'll make sense later. So I'm just like trying to pick up like what his vibes are because his voice is just like throwing me off. And then he tells like his profile said that he was an electrician, but then it comes out that he's not working at the moment and he's driving for Uber Eats. So I was like, what? And then it comes out that he's driving for Uber Eats because he's working on his rap album. And then I was just like, what? And then so at that point I know like, okay, this isn't my husband. So, but this guy is interesting as all hell. So let's just see where it goes. And that's it was really good advice somebody gave me before, and I'll share it with everybody. Don't ever go into a date with any expectations. Your time is valuable. Go into it like this is your evening. Make the best of it as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And so that was a Thursday night. I had makeup on my face. I was dressed and I was out in the world. So I was like, I'm going to make the best of it. This guy's interesting. So he starts telling me more about his rap career and his SoundCloud and all that. And I'm just like, this guy's nuts, but let's go with it. Then he tells me there's an open mic down the street. So I was like, let's go. Let me see. Put your
Oh shit.
put
Your
your
mouth is.
yeah, exactly. So we go down the street to the open mic and he gets on and he is the worst rapper of all time.
Oh no.
And I don't know if I mentioned that vernacular, it was a phony rap vernacular, but he was also Russian, so he was like clipping in and out. So he gets on stage, he's so sweaty, and he's like, I don't even want to mess this mic up, but he's literally like slobbering all over the mic, and I see that the whole crowd is just like, this is not it. Like, what is happening? So then he comes down and he whispers something like Russian in my ear and like licks it. And I was like, it was the craziest thing ever. And then so I'm like, no, now everyone here thinks the worst rapper alive and I'm his woman. Like, I gotta leave. So at that point, I'm like drunk. I was like, this is the funniest experience of my life. And
did you ever see him after that?
Oh my God.
No, he tried to see me again. He walked me home. And I said something along the lines when he asked to like set up a second date. I said, you know what? Like, I had an awesome time with you. And I would love if we could be friends. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. Yeah. Like, I would actually love to be friends with you. Because I got a kick out of him. Like, somebody that has the confidence to do that is my kind of person.
You got balls.
Now, the way I described it, I was like, that wasn't my worst date ever. That was kind of
But, like,
epic.
that took a turn.
Oh my God. But that's what makes me so nervous about first dates because, like, you just have no idea where it's going to go. You have no idea.
This was, oh God, this was last Christmas? I don't know. Again, maybe a year or two ago. There was this guy that DM'd me on Instagram. Wasn't even through the apps or anything like that. He DM'd me on Instagram and I go to his profile and he's tall, he's bearded, you see he went to law school, he's super well-traveled, he's very handsome, and he starts DMing me and we're talking back and forth. Come to find that he has a beach house in Sea Isle, which like anybody who knows me knows I love Sea Isle, and that's like, put a ring on it now, like if you have a beach house. So we go and we set a date after like way too many months of just like talking. So I'm just like, all right, let's meet up. Let's have a date. I get showered. I'm getting all ready. We make plans to go to this place right in my neighborhood. He was going to get dropped off at my house and we were going to walk there. And I get out of the shower. I have my makeup on. And as I go to like meet him, he just completely like ghosts me. And whatever, that was the first time that happened, like feeling actually like stood up. Sometimes people cancel like way too close to the time when it's disrespectful, but if I have my makeup on, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a common theme. Like, I dirty my face. Mm-hmm. No. So after that happens, I start to do some digging and I go on his Instagram and I see, and I don't know why I didn't pick this up before, but I see that every single one of his followers and who he's following, each one is a female name. So I'm just like, there's a lot of girls on here. And then I just type in like Chris. Then I type in Joe. I type in Mike. I type in Matt. I type in all 11 apostles. And there's no guys. And then he's not tagged in any pictures. And this guy was like pursuing me heavy just to ghost. It was weird. And in Philly, there's this huge Facebook group where it like trickled down from like the Morning Toast podcast, if you're familiar. But now there's like 10,000 people on it. So I just simply like put a screenshot of his Instagram and said, hey, has anybody ever like actually met this guy in person or seen this guy? I was like looking at his profile. I'm seeing some red flags. And at that point, this was like not immediately, but he had his name on his Instagram and he changed his name to the Red Bearded Ghost on Instagram because he had a red beard. So that's just weird. He ghosted me and he changes his name to that. And the comment blew up immediately. Like went from all day long, my phone was blowing up. Hundreds and hundreds of girls were talking to this guy. A few of them FaceTimed him. A few of them have been married now and he still hits them up. Like it was years and it wasn't all Instagram DMs. People met him through the apps. They met him through different things. And so it was crazy. But then the internet sleuths got into it and they found out he was married. He had like a wife. He lived in Jersey. He didn't even live in Philly. And he was just getting off on getting attention from women and standing them up.
And then ghosted them. How fucking weird.
He was the red bearded ghost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So stay away, ladies, if he
So
gets in your DMs.
it was just a whirlwind.
Like, what a fucking crazy story. And like, you've never posted that.
That's horrifying.
Like,
And then he would just keep going. But I saw recently that he's now, because now that's like a huge thing that like all single
Philly
girls
known
know
thing,
about.
yeah.
When he was back on the apps, like people were like posting him. But kind of cool, from my original post, another Facebook group started that is kind of like everywhere now, I think, because I've seen it on TikTok. But it's like kind of like a safe private Facebook group where girls post guys that are like doing this.
Oh, I
so
love
like
that.
people post their boyfriends, or people post a guy that just recently ghosted them, or a guy that they're about to go. I kind of hate that. People post the guy that they're about to go on a date on and be like, what's the tea? And it's like, find out for yourself, like grow up. But like, I respect it if like you're wondering if your boy's being shady.
For sure.
But like this little community of like internet warriors.
I love that.
Yeah, it came
Women
from you
helping
out,
women.
I know, I love that.
Came from me being just like wearing my makeup, just like, I don't want to scare you because yes.
I'm already scared.
No.
Yeah.
Do not be scared, because I feel like I have become my best self in doing these like dates. Like I go and like I know that I have the confidence to like walk into a room with a guy I don't know and that I'm the one that's like in control. Like I'm not scared or intimidated. And I've also been on a lot of fun dates that went nowhere. But what is the next step in your singleness? Like there's like the wallowing period.
So,
it's just like grief.
So I'll put it this way. Like we broke up, and the next day I went to the Yankees game, and I just walked around and I was like, I just want to feel good. I got so much attention from men, and like that just felt good. That sounds shallow. I don't really give a fuck. It felt really good. People told me I was beautiful or whatever. I don't know what it was. Like we were just talking to a bunch of different groups of guys, and like it was really fun. And I like kind of needed that.
Yeah.
And not that I need validation from other people, blah blah blah. I can tell myself all I want in the mirror, but you could lie to yourself. It feels good when a guy who you think is attractive tells you that they think you're attractive or thinks you're pretty or whatever it is. So I just really needed that like attention, I guess you could say. But
The way I explain it, because my roommates are always yelling at me, is being like, you don't have to go out tonight. But like, I don't get, when you are not in a relationship, you could feel like you're alone in this like big world, whereas your partner makes you feel seen.
Right.
Going out into the world, it's not necessarily validation or attention,
For sure.
but to feel seen and to feel like you're a part of what's going on around you
Yeah.
is part of moving on. And
For
like
sure.
knowing that like you're valued at a Yankees game, or like
Yeah.
you're valued no matter where you are,
Yeah.
standing alone as a person. That's how I say it. It's like, I need to be seen. I want to be seen tonight. I want to go out and feel like I'm doing something instead of just wallowing in my like self-pity, which is really easy to do when you're single.
What gives you guys the ick? Like immediately.
Well, I think yours is really good. Like your
The
negativity.
negativity.
Yeah.
I think condescending, like conversations, because
Yeah.
like you were saying, like you want to be taught something. I'm like that too. I like people that are more like smarter than me, but I've met other guys like that, and I've learned, like when I was young, I used to just think like, oh, like that felt weird, but maybe it's just me. But now I know, like, oh, you just like either don't know how to talk to women and you're like mansplaining, or like you're like literally just a dick.
Yeah. And that happens a lot in like small talk on a date. And then it's like
Exactly. And it's subtle.
It makes you shut down, because then you're just like, I don't want to ask you anything
It's
anymore.
subtle.
What about you?
I don't know. My thing is, this is so weird, but as soon as I sit down on a date, in the first fucking 5 seconds, I know whether I'm gonna like you or not. Like, that sounds really, and I don't mean that as an appearance thing, like the energy you're giving off. Like, I get the ick so fast.
What is it though?
I don't know. Like, it's an energy thing.
If they don't stand up, it gives me the ick. Like, if I literally
That's a
am
good
coming
one.
to you, we're meeting out. If you don't stand up and greet me, you don't have to
Yeah.
hug me, but at least like
That's
stand
a
up
good
until I
one.
sit down.
Yeah.
And that's something that you know, like, immediately.
Yeah.
How do you feel about paying for on your first dates that you've been? Do you like to split it? Do you think he should pay? How do you feel?
It's always like situational. Like, I don't go in with any.
Have you ever
always
been
depends.
left with the bill? Like, that's kind of a fucking terrible feeling.
What?
Yeah.
The whole bill?
Twice.
What?
So I've experienced it all. So 2 different times, 2 different kinds of situations. The one was during COVID, and it was the kind of bar where you had to order things from the QR code. And so he was there. Was I there first? I got there first because he was coming from Cherry Hill. So we drove over, and he was circling for parking for like a long amount of time. So we ended up being late. And so I did the QR code and I ordered myself a drink. And then when he got there, his phone was dead. And so he couldn't order it. And so I ordered his drink, and then we just kept it all on my tab, and then you close it out on your phone. So like there wasn't a way for us to split, but then he gave me his Venmo, and I Venmo'd him and he ordered 2 things of food. I was just drinking because I already knew that he wasn't my guy, so I made plans literally as he was like circling. No, but I usually always do that though. Like if I kind of get a feeling that this guy isn't gonna be the greatest, but you gotta like kind of check it off the list, I'll make backup plans. But I Venmo'd him, and I Venmo'd him for the food and stuff because like I didn't pay for that.
Requested him.
Yes, and he told me to do that.
Yeah.
And then he never completed the Venmo. Never completed it. And so a week later, I was like, hey, like, what's the deal? And he was like, you ghosted me, so I wasn't going to pay you. And I was like,
God.
I was like, that's not part of the deal. I was like, just because I didn't like the date doesn't mean you didn't owe me. And I was like, and I ghosted you because you didn't pay me right away, which wasn't the case. I really just like.
But good excuse, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
I don't consider it ghosting, like, if you just don't follow up after a date. He didn't, like, he texted me and said, like, hey, had a great time with you, and I didn't respond. It's not like he said, when can I see you again?
Yeah.
If I didn't respond to that, that would be rude. But he just said, hey, I had a great time, and I didn't answer. A week went by, and he still didn't pay me back. If he paid me back, maybe I would have given you another chance, buddy. I wasn't going to give him another chance. But it's still the way that it happened.
You're right. You don't owe each other anything. Like, you went on the date. He asked you to Venmo request him. Just because I didn't like you doesn't mean you don't just get to not pay. Like, that's fucking rude.
Like, so I had a bad date and I paid for it. Like, that's ridiculous.
That sucks.
And then the second situation was really bad. And this was like a year ago today. It was one of my like first dates in a really long time. I was like super optimistic about it. The guy was really tall. He was really handsome. He was dark and bearded, looked like a lumberjack. And we got on the date, and he was the most aggressive person I think I've ever come across. And like we were texting. I think we met, the timeline of this is like we met like right before Christmas or matched right before Christmas. So we were talking all throughout the holidays. And through texting, I just did not get that impression at all. But then on the date, he said things. He was just talking about like capitalism and politics, which like, that's fine. It was really relevant at the time. This was probably like right during the peak of like 2020 when like a lot was happening. But he was doing it in that condescending way where it was just like, you either think how I think or you're a moron.
Idiot.
Yeah.
And he was saying like the world spends too much money on keeping the elderly alive. And I was just like, yeah, so like fuck my grandma, right? And he totally like did not pick up my sarcasm. Yeah. And what other thing
He
did
was like,
say?
yeah, fuck that bitch.
Oh, he was interrogating me on how much money I make and if I'm okay with that and what my rent was. And then when it came time for the check, he didn't reach for it. And then when I made him put his car in, it was declined. So it didn't work. And so
Well, how'd
I was
you
just
make
like,
him put his card in?
I was like,
Here you go.
like if you don't like immediately do it, like I did because I didn't want to hear his opinion on women not offering to help pay.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of person he was. I knew that he was going to have an opinion on like the old standard of women, blah, blah, blah. So I like put my card up immediately. And then when I saw he didn't, I was like, like did a little hand motion. So finally he did, and then it got declined. And then at that point I just wanted to leave. He walks me home. Or I think where we went, we drove. So he drove me home. He got out of the car and he like kissed me at the end, and it was just like dry lips. It was like disgusting. And then he texted me afterward, because I guess he picked up that I was like not into it. And he said, was I really that bad? And I was like, the kissing or like meaning like, yeah, like kissing you was disgusting. But he said, no, like the date. I was like, well, you didn't ask me anything about myself, and you, except for how much money I made.
You honestly gave him a response.
Yeah.
Good.
Because at that point I felt like he disrespected me by not coming on a date where he was prepared to pay. Like then I felt like used, and it was just weird.
Yeah.
So when it got declined, you were like, it's fine, like I'll take the rest. Like you put it back on your card.
He had like a million excuses as to why it happened. It was like, I don't know what's going on. He was like playing on his phone, and I was like, this guy honestly just doesn't have the money.
Yeah. That's crazy that he was talking all this shit.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
Like as if he knows everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's
now that
wild.
you've been on all of these dates, have you ever, like, I know you say you've been on second and third dates. Like, was there ever something that went really well and then it just didn't work out because of whatever? Like, anything that escalated further?
Yeah, like, okay, so a good date was one of the first dates I went on after COVID, and it turned into like a 5-6 month relationship, situationship. I don't know what you want to call it, but the world was just opening up. It was like the heat of summer, and he immediately asks me on a date. Like he doesn't waste any time. He's like, hey, you're beautiful. I would love to meet you sometime, I think was one of his like opening texts. So I'm just like sold, love that. Let's go meet out. And he sets up the time, he makes the reservation, and we arrive, and almost immediately this woman like comes up to us, and she goes, I guess he was talking to her before I sat down, and she goes, the energy here, I feel it. I feel like you guys are going to have a great time. You look so cute together already. Some random woman on the street just like coming up and talking to us.
You guys up.
Yeah. And so that got both of us feeling like hyped up, and we had such a good time. And then right after that, the waiter comes over and we both order margaritas. And then he looks at me and goes, should we just do a picture? So we do a picture of margaritas. We are there until they kick us out because it's COVID. So they have like restrictions. We go to another place and we're just like talking nonstop. Neither of us can get a word in because we're like so excited.
That's cute.
And then we go to another place because it's like COVID. So it was like from start to finish, I think our reservation was at like 1, and I was with him until like 8:30 that night. We had like our first kiss. We were like walking kind of far away, and he like grabbed my hand, pulled me in and kissed me. And it was the most perfect first date you could think of. Texted me first thing the next morning saying, hey, I had such a great time. I would like to see you again.
That's awesome.
And it was really good. But then what we found, this was in July, on Thanksgiving, he had COVID over Thanksgiving. And at that point, our communication kind of like dwindled. And I was like, hey, like, is everything good? And he goes, actually, I have COVID. I've been like on quarantine for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, like, he didn't even mention it to me. I was like, something's up. And he goes, and you know what? I really like you a lot. I just don't think we're compatible for each other. And it was kind of like a relief at that point because I felt like I was forcing it, like, because I really liked him, but I just didn't like him enough. And I don't know why. And I was attracted to him. He was good on paper, but it was that like unspoken chemistry.
Yeah.
And it was also that I felt like when you go that back and forth, like banter and things, whenever I would tell him something, he wasn't excited about it. Or if he was telling me something, it was kind of like a condescending way about it. It was just, our communication was just not seamless. When that first date it was. And then as it kind of went on, sober, not sober, like it just turned into a big nothing burger.
But I think that's really relatable because I'm sure
Yeah.
people look for those kinds of first dates and they're like, I found my husband, like I found my man. That's like in the movies and like I'm sure in select scenarios in real life, like people just really connect. The first time they meet, they're like, oh my God, I spent all day with this guy. Like I think this is gonna go places, and then it doesn't. Like that's so normal, and I feel like because everyone's so used to these terrible first dates or like the apps that really just give you the ick real quick, like everyone almost forgets like it's actually also normal to go on dates, love that person, and then it just like not work out.
Yeah.
Or you're both great people, but you just are not for each other.
You have to like trust your unsureness.
Yeah.
Like I was always unsure throughout the whole thing, but then I also wasn't in a relationship for a really long time. It was comfortable having someone to talk to all the time.
Yeah.
And so I was never going to go and tell him that. And I was so relieved when he did. I was like, you're a little offended at first because I was just like, damn, I was just rejected by someone who I didn't really like that much. But then, like, and it's just like, damn. Like, why'd he say it first? And that, like, really stung for, like, a good portion of time. But then afterwards, it was like, And months later, they always come back. Months later, he texted me and was like, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. And then we had a little situationship again. And then we both realized again, like, yeah, we just don't like each other. What a bummer.
Sometimes that happens though.
Yeah.
Do you ever like are you, I know you're not looking, well I don't know, are you ever looking for like a friends with benefits, or like is that something that you are open to, or you're like, no, I'm not like mentally there yet?
I don't think I say no to anything.
Okay.
I probably got to learn to say no to things. But no. No, like sometimes that stuff happens naturally too, but I really am actively looking for the one.
Right.
I'm like the token single person, which like it's an entire personality for me. So it's gonna, everybody is going to like literally
Has to adjust.
like
High expectations.
like a volcano is going to erupt the second I find a boyfriend, and everybody's not gonna know what to do with themselves.
That's so funny.
It's okay, and I have peace with it. I found peace with it a while ago.
Yeah.
But that's like my whole shtick is like everybody should find peace with it. Like,
Yeah.
don't let your relationships define you. You need to define you, and the relationship should just be a lovely addition to your personality and your happiness.
How did you like evolve to this like mature outlook on dating? Because most of the time dating is miserable for people. Like I know you've been saying like, okay,
Yeah,
I've learned this and someone
thoroughly
told me
enjoy
this.
it.
Like how have you gotten to that point? For people that are struggling.
I had a really bad relationship in high school, and then through college, I kind of was in my like, I didn't respect myself. I was just hooking up with whoever I wanted to hook up with, and I also gained a lot of weight. I used to be really skinny, and I still have that weight on. It's something that I'm taking care of, but through that, like I was never, for a long period of time, I wasn't getting any attention or validation from men, and it had to come from somewhere. And the only place that I was going to get it was from myself.
Yeah.
And so it was through healthy friendships, through the love and adoration of my parents, and being able to like find my confidence and my personality ultimately, and loving myself without any type of outward male attention is what got me to this point. And it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of, I don't know, self-reflection and things like that. But it really is just like taking the time to love yourself and not rushing into things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm assuming you don't, like, you never put the pressure on yourself to have like a timeline necessarily, because I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Oh, I did. But I gave that up years ago because all it did was cause me misery.
Right.
Like the biological clock ticking is obviously something that's in my head, but like at one point it's so out of my control.
Right.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing I could do about
Unless
it.
you walk
unless
into
I
a
wanna,
sperm bank.
Yeah. Which I adore the traditional relationship timeline, and I think maybe me being single all these years has taught me a lot. I just try and focus on the good.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't have moments of like complete sadness, like at the funeral when I was by myself, whereas my sisters are with their boyfriends. Like it's totally devastating.
Yeah.
But
I didn't.
what am I going to
personally,
do about it?
I didn't want anyone next to me when I was going through that. I was like, thank God, like, get the fuck away from me. Like, but you know what? That was a big self-reflection moment for me as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to overstep what you were saying.
Oh my God, no.
I know that feeling. And that was a big self-reflection moment for me because I was like dating people at the time that needed a lot of tending to.
Yeah.
And I felt like they would have made that day about them. And that was a huge sign to me. And I was like, I don't want to talk to a boy in a very long time. Like, I just want to date myself. I want to take care of myself. Anything that they could offer me, I could fucking do for myself.
Yeah.
Like, easy. So anybody being added into my life has to be an asset. You have to be adding in my life in some way.
Yeah.
Because I could do everything myself.
No,
I don't mean
the
to
same
sound
way.
like bitchy.
But people, I mean, you both had tragedies that, like, I guess helped you evolve to that mindset.
Yeah.
More so you, because you've been dating longer, but like that's something that most people don't experience.
Yeah.
So that like concept of, okay, I'm officially done with the bullshit and the guys that treat me like shit, like that takes longer for most
Yeah,
people.
no, I will literally, I don't care if I'm in a 6-year relationship, I don't care if I'm married with kids. If you are disrespectful in any way or you have no respect for my grief or things I'm going through, I will fucking leave. I don't care. I don't care. Because I love myself more and I know that I don't deserve that. Like you should never make somebody feel like a burden for experiencing life. We didn't want that to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Sometimes I felt like, I don't know. I'll leave it there.
I also think the way that I am and like my confidence and my like, I'm so comfortable with myself. I also think that could be intimidating on a date,
Absolutely.
in person,
Yeah.
or anything. Like I will obviously adapt for someone, but like I would never change what's so inherently me for anybody. I'm also, my confidence could be overwhelming. I don't know. So it has
I
its
think
good
that
thing
would be
and its bad
attractive, but
things.
maybe that's because you have to be amongst people that also
It's-
feel that way about
It's
themselves.
attractive when you see it in a man, but
Yeah.
it's not so attractive for a man who doesn't have it together to see it in a
Yes.
woman.
Yeah.
Double standard.
What's a non-negotiable for you in a relationship that it's just like, you know what, this guy could be 99% amazing, but that 1%, like what's like just something that is just a no?
Now this is tough. I thoroughly believe that once a cheater, always a cheater. I would need to know.
Yeah.
I would want to know that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I would just never get involved with it, because I thoroughly believe that like once you have it in you, like
Right.
I don't see someone being able
I'm
to change.
100% with you.
And that
Yeah.
might be controversial. Somebody might have cheated in the past and they don't do it on their current whatever, but like I just
When
If
you
you were
go
able
in
to-
a relationship with somebody and you have a mentality within a relationship that could potentially be harmful, even if you're no longer cheating anymore ever again, like that is for your partner to decide though, because that is something that you've done to another woman, another
Right.
man,
Yeah.
whatever. That person, like, I mean, it's not as like crazy as like killing somebody, but it's almost like that is something that like I need to know so that I can either move on with you and like get past that, because learning that later could
Yeah.
be worse.
Yeah.
Being open with a potential partner is so important, because once all the cards are out, like there's no secrets, there's
Right.
no
now I'm kind of rethinking that, and I don't know if I believe what I even said. Like, can someone change? Can someone not be?
I
that?
agree with
I guess
you.
it would depend on
this. I really think
how old they were.
I think scenario. It really
Yeah.
does. If you were 20 or you were 21 and you
Right.
got,
Yeah.
I think scenario really matters. How often it was, who was the person you were cheating. Like I really think it matters. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's as the person that you're dating, I need to know.
Yeah.
Like that's my right to know and to decide for my future like relationship with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I can't even think of, like, you would need to have a job, but like, wouldn't that be everybody's non-negotiable? But I guess for some people, no.
You'd be surprised.
No. Yeah, like you just gotta have a job.
Yeah.
Be in the working field.
Yeah.
Not be lazy in your mom's basement.
Yeah.
I think for me, a non-negotiable while in a relationship would be blacking out. Like, I don't mind if you drink, I don't mind if you get drunk, like, enjoy yourself, no problem. But the blacking out, like, one, makes me feel very uncomfortable. And two, I just feel like if you're in a relationship, you should just be a little more aware of how you are acting when your partner's not around, I think. Because I just personally would feel weird if my partner came home and the next morning I was like, oh, how's your night? They're like, oh, I don't remember it. I'd be like, that's kind of concerning. Like, I don't know.
I'm just thinking of Kyle from Summer House. I don't know if you guys watched that
No, I don't. Why?
He just, over the course of like the 6 years he was on the show, first he was just his current wife would just come to the shore house and hook up at night. Eventually, she was a cast member because they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then now they're married. But at least 3 different times on the show, he blacked out and made out with someone.
Yeah.
And she has forgiven him and taken him back. So that's a really good non-negotiable.
It's just not an excuse.
Don't black out
and people
if you're
will
not
use
with
it.
me.
They'll be like, "Oh, I wasn't in my right mind." I'm like, "Okay, well, don't put yourself in a situation where you're not in your right mind." Like, it's to me, that's not an excuse of anything.
Okay, so I think my non-negotiable would be you have to be nice to your mom.
Yes.
That is such
That's
a good
one.
I'm skipping mine. Forget the whole thing about cheating. That's mine.
You can cheat as long as you're nice to your mom.
Yeah.
No, but I really
no, but
think
like if
that
you're nice
says
to your mom, you
so
wouldn't be a
much.
cheater.
Yeah.
I think the way that you treat your mom says everything about your potential relationship. The good, the
1000%.
bad, everything.
Wow.
1000%.
I learned that, I mean, for one, Joe obviously treats his mom like a queen, but I also see like, you know, they like fight sometimes. Like I see how he talks to her. Like that's going to be you.
Yeah.
That's going to be you at some point. And like, it's almost like you can learn from that. You can, you know, decide whether or not you want to pursue a relationship. I'm telling you, meet their fucking mom with them.
Yeah.
Have like a full day. Hang out with their mom. Don't just do dinner. Like go to Peddler's Village. Fucking go to Great Adventure. Walk around with their mom. Have him pay. Like really watch how he treats his mom. I'm telling you.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a great one.
Because I have seen the greatest and I've seen the worst. And holy shit, does it come out in the relationship.
I completely agree with that. Even just looking back at all my past relationships.
I'm telling you guys, everyone look back at your past relationships. How'd they treat their mom?
That's
it was
such
how
a
they
good
taught
one.
you. It
Yeah.
was how
Wow.
they treated you.
Yeah. It's
Thank
very
you.
true. Allie, what's your love language? I know yours.
Everyone knows mine.
Can you remind me what the 4 are?
So it's words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and gifts.
Oh, that's so hard.
Or like pick like 2 that would like you truly receive.
Immediately, I want to say physical touch, which is like crazy because like I'm such like an emotional person, but like I really do like the physical touch.
Yeah.
But I also think physical touch and quality time. Like I like being in person. In person is a big deal.
Yeah.
My last relationship that I'm still like kind of like confused about why it ended. We had a really hard time seeing each other in person.
Yeah.
And by him, I think the distance made me like kind of self-sabotage. And so I ended it. And then after the fact, I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But it was because I would just panicked.
Yeah.
Which like I seem all like confident and put together, but like when you're in the thick of it and emotions are involved, it's really hard to like still be clear-headed.
Yeah, no biased.
And it was that quality time that I was missing that made me kind of go crazy.
But sometimes there's just something that you require. And even though everything else is perfect, that 1%, if that's not, and that could change. That could be like a seasonal thing. Like you just have to be open and communicating well with that person.
I think my love language that I give would be acts of service.
Okay.
Like I would give it all
Yeah.
to
That's
make someone
interesting.
happy. I like giving gifts and all that.
I'm terrible at that.
Interesting. What's something that for both of you, like if you're like talking to a guy and he does is like a green flag, or you're like, that was sweet, like that stood out to me. Like what's something about character, personality that would be like, I don't know, I'm
going to say persistence because like after the fact, like after you get me, is the persistence still there? Or do you get me and then like it dies? Was it just the chase? Like I think, what's the word? Like another word for persistence, but like continual persistence, because even like really far into a relationship, like it's gotta stick around. Otherwise it kind of, it dies quickly.
This is like really random, but since so much of my relationships begin and start on the apps, when I am circling for parking in Philly, I always like to call the person that I'm like actively texting at the time to see how they handle it. And so many times people don't answer, or they say, "Hey, was that on accident?" And it was like, "No, you loser, like come on."
Answer me.
Yeah. Or so I really like when they either answer and they're not totally thrown off by it, or if they like simply like call me back, because then the answer would be, "I was just circling for parking, wanted to say what's up."
That's a really good test.
I'm not even a phone person. Like I panic when someone calls me, but it's a nice like way to really like move forward in like your communication. And it's like it's a green flag if they handle it right.
That's a good
it's a
one.
green flag if they handle it at all and not just panic.
Yeah. That's got to be awkward, though, walking into the date and they never responded.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you're like,
hello?
I fucking called you.
Well, no, not even that. No, like circling for parking, like randomly, like not even before the date. Like,
Oh, I thought you meant like as you're walking into the date. Okay.
Yeah, no, like if you're like texting me while I was sitting at my desk at work all day, you could pick up the phone when I'm driving home from it.
Right.
So like that kind of thing. Like I won't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just literally versus a texting conversation to a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Like if you're
transition.
like if I see they text me and I'm driving, then I'll call them.
That's actually, that's a really good one.
And maybe I'm like a villain for that, like
No.
because it really is purely for my own satisfaction to see how they handle it.
Yeah,
But
it's interesting.
fun, try it.
Yeah.
See what they do.
I think mine is like when someone can actively show you that they choose you or want you. Like can actively, like they don't play hard to get. Like they don't count the minutes or the hours of when you responded. Okay, now I have to wait that much. Like I also like feel like it's really attractive when guys can just show up to be like, I respect you and I want to make you feel special.
Yeah.
Like I think it goes a long way. Just like a little act of like. What's that? Like the thought that counts. I think that's like a huge thing. That's
Consideration.
yeah.
Okay, last question. What would you give for people that are newly dating advice and people that have been in the rut of dating and like they're feeling like, okay, I need to stop. Like what's going on?
Yeah. My advice is always have fun with it. Don't put pressure on it. You could obviously have expectations as long as they're positive expectations, but don't let yourself fall into this like sadness, which I say that, but I've also left a date that I was really excited about and it went terribly and I cried in the Uber on the way home.
Yeah.
You could do that. Just don't let that stop you from going on another date the next day.
Right.
We're here to live our life and to find that person, and there's no shame in working on it and trying.
Yeah.
Like don't let anybody be like, oh, you're going on another one, or like put yourself out there and enjoy it and put your best self out there and love the person that you're putting out there. There's a time for everyone. Maybe this is your time that you're supposed to be really honing in on your friendships. Maybe this is a time where you're supposed to be focusing on your family or your career. And when that person comes into your life, it'll be that perfect time for you to focus on them. And everybody's time is different. So don't let all the noise of engagements and babies and everything bother you because you're going to have your time. You just got to be patient for it.
Yeah. I like
and
that.
it's going to be beautiful.
That's really nice.
I can't wait to meet your soulmate, Allie.
I know.
Well,
We have high
We're
expectations
gonna have
for
him
you.
on.
Yeah, maybe October 15th next year.
No pressure.
Hopefully. If not, then like shit.
Oh my god.
We'll cross that bridge when we get
They
there.
read the wrong stars.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. This was really great.
I love
dating
being here.
stories are so much fun. If you have
You guys
more,
let me talk way too much.
No, it's great. And if
We
you
love
have,
it.
if at some point, like later on in the season, like if you have more, we'll do another one. Like if you guys liked these stories, if you have other scenarios, if you have stories, feel free to tell us. Or if you want to hear more, I'm telling you, she literally has a booklet of stories. Like they're incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you again for joining us. This was so
Yeah.
great. And
Yes.
again, you're welcome back anytime, especially with a significant other.
Yeah. Love you guys.
No.
Okay. Sorry our camera died, but please go back or visit for the first time, whatever your preference is, Turtle Beans Roastery in Bordentown, New Jersey. It's incredible. Steven's amazing. Try their seasonal. They're adding matcha to the menu, which he was super excited about.
Oh, that'll be good.
I know.
Yeah.
Their pour over is great.
Literally best coffee I've ever had. Hands down.
And read a book in there. It's just so aesthetically nice, and it's
Yeah.
really calm in there, and the clientele is really great, and you know they know everybody. It's a great spot. We highly recommend. But I think that's it, guys.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course,
course, Allie.
literally
Thanks for
anytime.
Happy
here.
dating.
Happy
Good luck.
dating.
Comment any funny dating stories you have as well on any of these, wherever it is on our platforms, or DM us. We love to hear the stories. So, and we'll send them over to Allie so she can read them as well.
Yeah.
But
Woo.
yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.